Shalom Aleichem.
Shabbat Shalom Shalom Akah.
How was everybody's week?
Good.
Blessed week. That's what I like to hear. It was a quick week. It kind of went by. It went by really quickly. I think when Maisha got here almost 3 weeks ago, everything went by like that. And I guess time flies when you're having a good time, okay?
Okay.
So, it's an expression, man. But let us all rise and face the east. So let us go ahead and give due respect and praise to the supreme power that we all worship. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Heavenly Father, Yah, we come to you this afternoon, give you all honor, glory, and praise, our Heavenly King. Thank you, our Most High, for allowing us to reach another Sabbath day, our Heavenly Father. And may all things that we speak of today be finding favor within your eyes, our Heavenly Father. Allow our conversation to be geared around you and your divine word, our Heavenly King. If there's anything that we have done that was unlawful in your eyes, we beg for your forgiveness and thank you for your unending mercy and the grace that you bestow upon this family and upon this household, our Heavenly Father. Let Shomrey HaTorah be a pinnacle part of this society, our Heavenly King, so that you may receive all esteem and glory, our Heavenly King, because we worship you and only you, and we let the people know your divine name, our Heavenly King. You are our rock and our redeemer, our Savior, our Heavenly Father. We seek refuge unto you, our Heavenly King, and only you, our Heavenly Father. We thank you for the many blessings, for the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding you bestowed upon this household, our Heavenly King. May all things be done according to your divine will and not our own, our Heavenly Father. We thank you, our Heavenly Father. We thank you for all sins and iniquities that we have committed, our Heavenly Father. We commit atrocities every day, our Heavenly Father, but we thank you for the blessings and the many graces you give us, allowing us to turn to you, to be in relationship with you, our Heavenly Father. We thank you. We praise your mighty name. We ask that you be with those that are having a holy convocation at this moment, our Heavenly Father, and may they be your name unto the highest point of every mountain, our Heavenly Father, and may your name be declared throughout the heavens and the earth, our Heavenly Father. And we ask that you be with those that are on their way here, our Heavenly Father, or on their way to another holy convocation, our Heavenly Father. For the brothers and sisters that are traveling, our Heavenly Father, that are at another destination, let them be blessed, our Heavenly Father. And as long as your name is praised, our Heavenly Father, that is what matters the most, our Heavenly King. And we praise you and only you. Hallelujah.
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 Amen.
Amen.
All right. And today we will start our reading as we do every week with Shemot 20. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And it says, I am Yehovah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. And you shall have no other mighty ones before me. And you shall not make yourself an idol of any image of anything that is in the heavens above, on the earth beneath, or was in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them nor serve them. For I am Yehovah, your Elohim, a jealous power, visiting the iniquities of the fathers and the children on the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, and showing loving kindness to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my command. You should not take the name of the Most High, your power, in vain, for Yehovah will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. And you shall labor 6 days and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Shabbat to Yehovah your Elohim. You shall not do any work therein, not you, nor your son, nor your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, the cattle, nor the stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yehovah made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. Therefore Yehovah blessed the seventh day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days will be long in the land which the Most High your Elohim is giving you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not cover your neighbor's house. You shall not cover your neighbor's wife, his manservant, his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Continue the reading. Psalms 92. Let us say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
It is good to give thanks to Jehovah, to sing praise to your name, O Most High, to declare your kindness in the morning and your trustworthiness each night, on 10 strings and on the harp, to the sounding chords of a lyre. For you have made me rejoice with your work, O Yah. I shout for joy at the work of your hands. O Yah, how great are your works. Your thoughts are very deep. A senseless man does not know, nor does a fool understand this. And when the wrong spring up like grass, and all the workers of wickedness blossom, it is for them to be destroyed forever. But you, O Yah, you are on high forevermore. For look, your enemies, O Yah, for look, your enemies do perish, and all workers of wickedness are scattered. But you lift up my horn like that of a wild ox, and I have been anointed with fresh oil. My eyes look upon my enemies. My ears hear the evildoers who rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree, and he will grow like a cedar in Lebanon. And those who are planted in the house of the Most High flourish in the courts of our Elohim. They will still bring fruit forth in an old age, and they will be full of sap and green, and show that Yah is upright. He is my rock, and in him there is no unrighteousness. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Psalms 124. Had it not been for Yehovah who was on our side, like Yisrael now say, and had it not been for Yehovah who was on our side, when men rose up against us, and they would have swallowed us alive, and their burning rage against us, then the waters would have overwhelmed us. The stream would have gone over our being, and the proud waters would have gone over our being. And blessed be Yah who did not give us his prey to their teeth. Our being has escaped like the bird from the snares of the trappers. And the snare was broken, and we have escaped. And our help is in the name of Yehovah, maker of heaven and earth. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Psalms 125. Those who trust in Yah like Mount Zion, it is not shaken, and it remains forever. As the mountains surround you, Yerushalayim, so Yehovah surrounds his people now and forever. For the scepter of wrongness shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous, lest the righteous stretch forth his hands to unrighteousness. Do good, O Yah, to those who are good, and to those who are upright in their hearts. For those who turn aside to their crooked ways, Yah shall lead them away with the workers of wickedness. Peace be upon Yisrael. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Deuteronomy 6:4-15. Hallelujah. Shema Yisrael, Yehovah Eloheinu, Yehovah Echad. And you shall love Yehovah Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, with all your might. And these words which I command you today shall be upon your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children. And you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be when Yehovah Elohim brings you into the land which you swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, to give you great and good cities which you did not build, and houses filled of all kinds of goods which you did not fill, and wells dug out which you did not dig, vineyards of olive trees which you did not plant. And you shall eat and be satisfied. Be on guard lest you forget Yehovah who brought you to the land of Mitzrayim out of the house of bondage. Fear Yehovah Elohim and serve him, and swear by his name. Him you shall serve, and by his name you shall swear. And do not go after other mighty ones, and the mighty ones are the people that are all around you. For Yehovah Elohim is a jealous power in the midst of you. Unless the displeasure of Yehovah Elohim burn against you, he destroy you off the face of the earth. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And as I do every week, depending on the day of the week, and today happens to be the first of the month of the Gregorian calendar, so we will read Proverbs 1. Let us all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And it says, the Proverbs of Shlomo, the son of David, sovereign of Israel, for knowing wisdom and discipline, for understanding the words of understanding, for receiving the discipline of wisdom, righteousness, right ruling, and straightness, for giving insight to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. The wise one hears and increases learning, and understanding gets wise counsel. For understanding a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of Yah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. My son, heed the discipline of your father, and do not forsake the Torah of your mother. For there are fair wreath on your head, and chains about your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not give in. If they say, come and let us lie waiting for blood, and let us ambush the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them alive like the grave, and the entirely like those going down into the pit. Let us find all precious goods. Let us fill our houses with spoil. Casting your lot among us. Let us all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and they hurry to shed blood. For in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. But they lie in wait for their own blood, and they ambush their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone greedy and gain, and it takes away the life of its owners. Wisdom calls out loud outside. She raises her voice in the broad places. At the heat of the noisy street, she cries out, and at the opening of the gates of the city, she speaks her words. How long, you simple ones? How would you love simplicity? And shall scoffers delight in your scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? Turn at my reproof, and see, I pour out my spirit on you, and make my words known to you. Because I have called you, and you refused, and I have stretched out my hand, and no one inclined. And you spurned all my counsel, and would not yield to my reproof. And let me also laugh at your calamity, mock when your dread comes. When your dread comes like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, and when your distress and anguish come upon you, let them call on me, but I will not answer, and let me seek it, but you will not find. Because they hated knowledge, and did not choose to fear the Most High, and they did not accept my counsel, they despised all my reproof. Therefore let them eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own counsel, for the turning away of the simple slays them, and the complacency of fools destroys them. But whoever listens to me dwells safely, and is at ease, and from the dreadful of evil. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Asel. We'll be singing just some song, it's praise and worship. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Blessed be the day called the Shabbath. Blessed be the joy that it brings. Blessed be the day of our Father, who gives us every day. Blessed be the praise and the worship of the things that light in our life. Blessed be the day of our Father, Most High, and the blessed be the worship of blessed be the day of our Most High, blessed be the blessed be the blessed be the day of our Father, blessed be the worship things that light in my life. Blessed be the day of our Father, Most High. Like a singing mood, so.
Oh yeah, let's get it.
All right. I'm not the best singer, but I'm putting my heart in this one.
That's right.
All right. I've been immersed. What's my name? Here are we are because of thy goodness. For our soul we will get into thy goodness. Help us please for And go spread. Yeah. Couple more. Ein Elohe Kimo Yahuwah Melech Hagadol Olam Oseh Yom Echad
We'd like to thank the youth for giving us some kind of praise and worship today. It is because their spirit and their divine zealousness to maintain the order of temple service that they, even though they don't have the talent, they put their heart into making sure that we have the praise and worship.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Bang, bang.
I I didn't even mean that.
Now that you think about it, right, it sounds real messed up, don't it?
No. But their efforts is well respected. You know, thank the Most High for all the things that they do. And their drums is coming along. Everything's coming along. My son is learning the word. So, I mean, everything is going to come into the fruition. You know, the Most High has blessed us and allowed us to maintain. I thank the Creator for all things and everything. I do need y'all for one more song.
You want the untalented one?
Huh?
You want the untalented one again? You want the untalented one again?
Yes, sir. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Everybody rise for the singing of HaTorah. We're going to keep this going every week. No matter how many people, we can't have the inconsistency of others to affect our consistency. So allow us to still maintain what we need to in order to have this divine order of worship. Plus we have viewers, so the viewers can count as a person present because it is a public Torah reading. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Whereby shall we return unto thee, for thy in our hearts oh, how can we grow closer to each other in those by thy Lord, by thy is the only way. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Praise and blessing be to the supreme intellect of the universe. Today we will have a Torah reading. And with only you put the reading like Nick right here on that room.
Oh, this thing right here? The Torah set, I think?
Yeah. To let y'all give you a heads up, we're gonna have the order as this. I changed it, so don't think because you're in a certain order that means anything. I had to change certain things because I've seen some people walk in the door. I'm first, then Saren, then my son Asa, Azaria, Amaria, then Mariel, Ro, and Labana. All right? So that's how you're gonna be called up. I'll guide you through it. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. I'll help you and walk you through it. Our Torah reading will start in the book of Bamidbar. And I keep forgetting to bring the tikkun. I'm going to leave a tikkun here. It has bigger words. So hopefully, I don't know if you have the Torah on your phone, if you can pull it up and you can see easier. We would allow that. We allow that today for the readings, but traditionally we're going to use the books. But since I only have a small book up here today, all right, yeah, he's about to turn the light on. All right, so we just give you out a second. The order again is me, Sharon, Asel, Lazaria, Mario, Ro, and Bala. Torah portion is real interesting this week. Has a lot of spiritual concepts to it that we have to really apply and understand. And I got it this morning, and it just revived my spirit. It gave me renewal, and that's the great thing. Also, Mario, you didn't bring a laptop, did you? All right, cool. I got it. All right, cool.
I remember that.
All right, so we have to make sure this our presentation run a little smoother, that we bring a laptop. So we just need somebody to remind us. Next week we need our tikkun, which is a big book, a big book for the Torah reading, and we're going to need an extra laptop for the projection. We're going to get it. Don't worry about it. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right, let me pull up. That was cool. I'm getting playing now. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right, so I definitely up. Hallelujah. Nikrat. Ani nasi yashuva ben nasi support ben zabulum. Hallelujah. Ani ko baruch Hashem shel Yehovah. Yom yom. Baruch Yehovah Tani. Ubaruch haba Nikrat. Yehovah Imkem. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Baruch Yehovah Habra. Lelumaya. Hallelujah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'karmanu b'kol ha'amim v'natamnu et torato. Baruch atah noten ha'torah. And we're in PARASHAT Chukat, which is in the book of Bamidbar, chapter 19, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Wa'yidber, Wa'yehoah, El Moshe, El Aharon, Lemor, Azot, Chukat HaTorah, Asher Zaweh, Yehoah, Lemor Daber, El Bnei Yisrael, Weyiku, Eloheka, Para, Aduma, Tamima, Asher, Ein Ba, Mon, Asher Lo Allah, Aleha Olam, Unatatim, Ota, El Eleazar, Wakohen, Wahoti, Otam, El Makut, Leman Kane, Weshachet, Ota, Lefanaiwa. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Read in English. First 3 verses. And Yah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, This is the statutes of the Torah that command you to say, Speak unto the children of Israel that they shall take for you an unblemished, totally red heifer, upon which no yoke has laid. Give it to Eleazar the priest, and he shall take it outside the camp, and it shall be slaughtered in his presence. In his presence, Liga. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Burukata Yohanim Leka Olam, Asher Natana Torah Emet Kayen, Olam Nata, Siga. Betukenu Burukata Yehovah Noten HaTorah. Hallelujah. Amen. Next person, next reader. Nikrayet Adon Seren Asa bin Baruch bin Israel.
Ani po Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom. Baruch Yehovah Tamid. Ubaruch Abba Nikrayet HaTorah.
Yehovah Inkem.
Yibareka Yehovah. Baruch Yehovah Barak Leloaye.
Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol hamamim ve'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Yehovah noten haTorah.
Hallelujah. We got verse 18.
Walaka ezoab ve'tabal bamayim is tahor vehiza al haohel wa'el kal hekekim wa'el hanepasot asher hayu sham wa'el hanogea ba'ase o behalal o bamet o bakaber vehiza hator al hateme bayom haselisi u bayom hasebei vehiteo bayom hasebei wakibes begada verachas bamayim vetaher bahareb.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
A pure man shall take his side, dip it in the water, and sprinkle on all the vessels upon who were inside on one who touched the bone of the corpse of the slain, the dead body or the grave, or who is richly pure shall sprinkle on the one who is impure on the 3rd day, on the 7th day, and purify him. On the 7th day, then he shall launder his clothes, immerse it in water, and become pure until the evening.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat amet haye olam botechenu. Baruch atah Yehovah noten haTorah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Excellent. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
It's an honor reading the Torah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Next up, to read the Torah. Nikrayet Natar Asael bin Nasi Ashuba bin Nasi Sapor bin Savunu.
Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Tamid.
Ubaruch Abba Nikrayet HaTorah.
Yehovah Inkem.
Yehovah Ibrahim.
Yibareka Yehovah. Baruch Yehovah HaBarak Le'Elohayet.
Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chad banu mikol Amin Benatan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Notain HaTorah.
Hallelujah.
Daber Yehovah El Moshe Lemor Quat Et Hamarte Wahak Wakel Et Ha'eda Ata Wa'aha Baharon Akika with Dibar Tim El Asela Le'ene him when Natan Mema Wahot Seta Lahem Mayim Min Hasela Wahish Quita Et Ha'eda We'et We'ida. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Yah spoke to Moses, saying, take the staff, assemble the community, you with Aharon your brother, and speak to the rock in the sight, and it shall give forth water, and you shall extract water from the rock for them, and give to the community, and the livestock shall drink.
Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet hayeh olam nata b'kuhenu Baruch atah Yehovah notain haTorah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Next read up. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Nikrayet, Na'ar, Azariah ben Nasi Hashuva ben Israel ben Levi. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Baruch
Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tami, Baruch Abba Nikrayet HaTorah.
Adonai Ekem.
Hallelujah. Yivareka Yehovah. Barku and Adonai HaBarak. Baruch Adonai HaBarak Le'Elohim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'kan anu nikah ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Yehovah notain haTorah.
Hallelujah. Azariah is going to be reading from chapter 20, verse 14 through 15.
What?
15.
Moshe sent out the messenger from Kadesh to the king of Edom. So said your brother Israel, you know about all the hardships that have fallen upon us. Our forefathers came out of Egypt. We lived in Egypt for many years, and the Egyptians mistreated us and our. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet hayeh holam natan b'tukenu. Baruch atah Yehovah notain haTorah.
Hallelujah. Next is going to be Mario, but why do you have Judges 11, 1 and 2? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Nikrayet Adon Mario. Ben Yisrael. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tami, Baruch Abba Nikrayet HaTorah.
Even
Bow, Baraku, Et, Et, Yehovah HaBarak. Baruch Yehovah HaBarak Leloah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech Olam, Asher barach banu Mekel Amin wa Nathan. Anu et Torah, Torato, Baruch atah Yahuwah. Noten TORAH.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. Adon Mario will be reading from the 21st chapter, the 10th verse, the 10th verse and 11th verse.
Okay. The children of Israel traveled to camp in Obah, and traveled from Obah and camped in
In the camp, the wasteland passes the desert.
Oh, okay, the wastelands, which is passed before Moab towards the sunrise.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Ruta Adonai Yahuwah, Eloheinu melech Olam, Asher Nathan Lanu HaTorah Ameth Olam Nathan King Barak Adonai Yahuwah Nathan HaTorah.
Hallelujah.
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 Nigwa et Rofenuya Bat Yehuda Ishat Nasi Yashuva. Huh? Mario, sorry. Oh, okay. Let's skip Sloppy. Nigwa et Adon Na'ar Amario Ben Zabulum Ben Nasi Yashuva Ben Zabulum. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yehovah Yom Yom Baruch Yehovah Tamid Baruch Abba Nigwa HaTorah.
Yehovah Imkim.
Yehovah Yom.
Baruch et Yehovah HaBarak.
Baruch Leloah.
Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikha amine we Nathan. Lenu et Torato Baruch atah Yehovah Nathan HaTorah.
Hallelujah. Okay, Mario will be reading. Oh, I messed up. All right, Mario will be reading over again. Verse 21, 10 to 11 in Hebrew.
We I Beni Ye Ro Hanos At Anif Wahi Batek Al Nish Han Tesh Wat T
Okay.
Bayatim, Bat, Labot, Ayitu, Su, Witano, Be'an, Ha'anburan, Beliba, Asher, Al Connect, Moab, Mimon, Mizrut, Ha, Shomrey,
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
We read the English version. So close out.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lenu haTorah emet hani. Olam nata Baruch Tikenu Baruch atah Adonai natim haTorah.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Next reader, Nigraet, Rofania, Bat, More Elazar, Yehuda, Ishet Nasi Yashuva,
Hallelujah.
Baruch
Baruch
Yehovah
Yehovah
Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Nigraet HaTorah.
Yehovah Cam.
Yom.
All right. Should be reading from the book of Numbers, the 21st chapter, the 21st verse, and the 22nd verse.
Lo, Lo, Mish, Mi, Ha, Mele, Ad, Asher, Nabo, Gebu, Le,
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Israel sent out messengers to Sikon, king of the Amorites, saying, "Let me pass through your land. We will not turn into a field or the vineyard. We will not drink the well of water. We will travel along the main highway until we pass through the territory." Hallelujah.
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 Baruch atah Yehovah Elohim melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah hamet hayim haolam natan betokenu. Baruch atah Yehovah noten haTorah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And our next reader will be reading from the book of Shemot. Sotim. 11th chapter, 11th verse. Nikraet Labana Baruch Ishet Seren Asa ben Baruch ben Yisrael.
אני פה ברוך השם של יהוה.
Baruch Yehovah Tami Ubaruch Abba Nikraet HaTorah.
יהוה אכם. ברכו את יהוה התורה. ברוך אתה יהוה אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בער בנו מקהל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה יהוה נותן התורה.
Yeah.
ופיתה הגיל עדי והיה גיבור חיל והוא בן אישה זונה והולד גילדה את יפתה ותלד איסת גילד לו בנים ויגדלו בני האישה וגישו את יפתה ויאמרו לו תנחל בעת הבינו כי בן אישה החרת אתה. ברוך אתה יהוה אלוהינו, ברוך אתה אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורה עמי עולם נטע ברוכתנו. ברוך אתה יהוה נותן התורה.
Hallelujah. All right. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Excellent Torah reading by everybody. Good try. Hopefully we can perfect it. If I can get a volunteer, a person that is going to work in the group to make sure everybody remember what they're supposed to say when they come up, and at least have a meeting this week to get everybody on point. Anybody want to take that on? Okay. Bonner says she'll take it on. All right, so make sure Bonner will be reporting in the group, and she will be letting you know what's going on. And we're going to get this perfected. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
It's not really a long service. It's only long because we don't remember or we're struggling through it. So may the Most High bless us and continue to do better. Let's get ready to close out with Shomrey HaTorah. So we start out with Petach. Petach means to open. Segor means to close. Petach means to open. Segor means to close. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Whereby shall we return unto thee, for thy words to be fulfilled by thy Lord, by thy Lord, in the heart it is to be instead. Oh, how can we draw closer to each other in the spirit of true righteousness by thy Lord, by thy Lord, yeah, is the only way we Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Everyone may be seated. In the Torah reading, we can see who's improving. We can see who's studying, who's trying to get better with their Hebrew. I can even see some people that fell off. But this is just a statement for everybody to become better in what they're doing. If you're going to put together a service for the Almighty, it's best that we devote our lives. There's not being too busy for the Creator. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as being too busy to learn and educate yourself on the language. This is something that's imperative for us. The reason why we become stagnated because we don't have enforcement and we don't enforce the rules. We have to start enforcing the rules. We have to start becoming stricter on our nation. We're not going to be able to go into a community with the lackadaisical ideas and concepts we have. We can't establish a nation with inconsistency. We can't establish a nation with tardiness. We can't establish a nation on any of these features that resemble something that's in the outside world of Negroes. So we have to be very, very mindful. Let us get better in all that we do. When you're feeling down and out, read. When you feel a little adversity, study. So even in your down period, you're gaining more knowledge, which frees you and allows you to feel more comfortable about self. Most people go into a state of depression or sadness because they don't elevate their mind. You cannot deliver yourself out of a state of depression with the same state or mind state that got you into the predicament. You can't. If you're depressed, you're sad, you're not happy with life, you're always going to be not happy with life until you figure out and grow and educate yourself out your position and out your standards. So I ask everybody, we will go into the portion. It's not a long portion. If you can hit the link and open up the slide, and I'm sorry again that we don't have the projection screen going. We'll get this thing going. We get it up and running. Now, the name of this lesson is called The Red Heifer. Understand the beyond. Basically, understanding what's beyond. Now, the red heifer has a lot of significant meanings, and it's so spiritual. And it's one of the things that a lot of us can't grasp the concept of. So we as a people, we tend to see a red heifer, and we don't know about a red cow nowadays, so we just leave it alone and skip past it. But we like to thank the Almighty for giving us the ability at Shomrey HaTorah to look at some of our ritual aspects of who we are and to bring it to an understanding where we can relate to it today. Now, I can summarize it, and we'll go through some portions of some of the readings, but I want you to understand this, that Yah works in everything in life. Your life is intricately connected with things inside the Torah. You ever read something in the Torah, you're like, wow, I needed that this week. You ever read a proverb and it was right on point for what you're going through? Yah has the ability to talk to you in ways that sometimes you neglect or sometimes you disconnect from. I can never see a person that ever tell me that they no longer do this way of life. And I believe that you ever did this way of life.
Right.
There's no way in the world. It means that when you was in here, you didn't have enough faith. It means when you were here, you didn't have enough conviction. You didn't believe. You didn't understand the power of the greatness of the mighty Yah. And it was just the act. You were here because you were lonely, didn't have friends, the world rejected you, and you found a bunch of crazy people that accepted you. That's all that happened. And then when you couldn't grow, you can't tell me you left this way of life and you didn't know Hebrew. You can't tell me this you left this way of life and you didn't understand the basic necessities of the PARASHAT of the week. That means you didn't give it your all. That means you didn't put your heart in it. Imagine a Mexican walking up to you saying, hey, you say, hola, and he's like, I don't know what that means. You would question if he's authentic and what he's doing. So you're a Mexican, you don't know Spanish? I want to go to the real Mexicans. But our language is so poetic. Our language tells a message in itself. It has philosophy. It has hidden jewels inside of it that we can relate to as a people. Our God is powerful. And I had the time this week, and I think about it because the red heifer may seem strange, but pretty soon you're going to be dealing with cows. And you're going to start to understand what a cow represents because you're dealing with nature. We went into the land, and it was 62 acres, and it was way more than I thought it was going to be. We had an elder Dawid came through, and he said, hey, we wanted to put houses here and put houses there. But when you're not educated and stuff, you would have destroyed your own place. He said, don't put no house there. He said, the rain gonna wash it out. He's laughing at us. We cracking jokes with one another. One of the elders that were with us, and I'm not gonna say his name because he's gonna kick me. But he seen a pile, and it was a pile. It was like things were growing. It was like natural life just in it. And he was like, yeah, that's a deer burial. Like deers got burial mounds. But it shows our detachment from the nature. It shows that you can't just up and do something. You have to be educated in what you're doing. We were going to put houses where boats should be. You know, so the elder gave us guidance. We were there talking. And guess what? We were hot, sweating, moving, blood circulating, moving through, smelling the fresh air. You know it's a different smell when you get out in the country. You start smelling like straight grass. You're like, man, where all this been? And it's comforting. It's a comfortable feeling. And everything, we're working so hard to establish this community and get it up and running. And this project is bigger than what you think it is. It really is. We had a meeting, I think it was that, we had a meeting that week, and it was Sunday. Actually, the meeting was Sunday. It was Yom Rishon. It was called a town hall meeting, right? And after that meeting, we had 7 people from out of town that just drove as soon as they got off the phone to come down and see the land. Now that's devotion and dedication. We're talking about creating a place where Israelites dwell in unity. We're talking about a place where children can roam and wander. We're talking about a place where they can explore. We're talking about a place where children are educated and they're learning how to grow their own food. Yah is blessing us. And it was beautiful because on our way out, Elder Dawid took us to his friend's house and he said, let's sit on this porch. I said, did you talk to this man? He said, no, I ain't talked to him. Well, that's how I seen him about 5 years ago. So you just gonna pop up in this man's house? So the man, he said, come on. I said, Dawid, come on in, man. Hey, what you need? What you need? And I met somebody that's just like me. I had the ability that this man was an artist. He had art all over the place. And yet, people were like, wait, who drew this? He was explaining. And he was showing his name in the magazine, how all this works. His name is John Culver. How all his works is in Italy and all of this, but he hasn't got paid for nothing. So his whole house is decked out. And he explained that there's portals in life. And he's explaining all his visions and how he came to become understanding the nation of Israel and what has become. But he's been rejected by society. So sometimes he begins to lose his understanding of God-given talent. A lot of times when you have a talent and God blesses you in a direction, when other people shun it, you tend to close it up and push it away. You tend to don't have the ability to be able to grow. I cannot grow in a community that doesn't educate themselves. You can't, right? We have to push each other. We're competitive, but we need to be cooperative. And that's something we have to work on. And the Almighty has blessed us. So this week's portion is dealing with the red bull, the red heifer, right? All right. So I'm going to read from the beginning of Chukat, chapter 19. Says the Lord spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, this is the statute or the culture of the Torah that Yah commanded you to say, speaking to the children of Israel, and say to them, take for you an unblemished, totally red heifer upon which no yoke was laid. Give it to Eleazar the priest, and he shall take it outside the camp, and it shall be slaughtered in his presence. Now, we know that in this place we deal with symbolisms because we're trying to apply everything to a day-to-day activity. So a bull symbolizes physical strength. And in this sacrifice, a lot of us are using our ability or we lean completely on what's physical. So we become impulsive in nature, we become stubborn because sometimes if it's outside of our area of comfort, we withdraw or retract from it. But we have to understand that there's a physical nature that is holding us back because that's all we rely on. And this portion is a beautiful portion because we know it's something greater than just the physical aspects of life. We have to realize that. Pleasures, all your desires will doom you and destroy you as an individual. If you don't put Yah first. If you have a friend that's not about Yah, then you cannot be about Yah. If you have a husband or a wife that isn't improving your nature and understanding what Yah is, then you have failed Yah. Everything is supposed to bring you closer to the Almighty. When you rise up in the morning and you give breath, you thank God for the physical strength to do his law. This is the infinite one, the one who was here before there was time and space. But many of us can't fathom a world without time and space. In this book, it talks about the red heifer, and the book is called, can't see real good, Rethinking Pluralism. And the book is kind of deep. I was going over it this morning because the red heifer has always made people wonder, what was this about? Even the great Rambam himself, he said, I understand many things about law and Torah, but the red heifer is something that's beyond my understanding. But God is good. Because though there is many avenues and many midrastic understandings and interpretations that you can break down from this red heifer, there is things that you can apply to their day-to-day life. There's many paradoxes about this red heifer. This is one of the only slaughters that actually did not happen in the temple courtyard. What did the temple represent, anybody? Besides the human body. What happened inside of, what happened that God removed himself and put it inside the temple? The temple represents the place where the spirit of the Almighty represents. And the last time the humans ever been in a place where God was spiritually and walked with God was where? In Eden. In paradise. So when people rejected God and they said, Moses, we don't want to hear the word no more. Give it to you and relay it to us. The Almighty removed his divine presence and he put it in a place. And then we begin to sanctify that place as the representation of paradise, the representation of order in the universe. Because God is the divine intellect. He is the one that designed everything in the universe. And in him, in the holies of holies, is a place where his spirit is to reside and be on the high priest. But then when we take this red heifer, we slaughter this red heifer, and we sprinkle the blood towards the sanctuary, which in turn it sanctifies it. But this is the first time because usually the blood is sprinkled on the altar. But this one is symbolically representing that there is holiness, and death represents chaos. So in this world, we have a balance between chaos and order. Yah represents order, divine order. I want y'all to pay attention because I'm going to go along and I want y'all to pay attention to these slides because it's very imperative that we understand this. That you order things in life, right? You got everything happen, everything going right. You plan things to go this way, somebody dies. What do? They destroy the order that you set up. It's a destruction. It made a mistake. Because you remember that man wasn't made to die. Death is actually unnatural. Man was created to live forever until we partook in the knowledge of good and evil. Now there was a good knowledge and there was an evil knowledge. But it seems that as man grew and grew and grew older, that this evil knowledge became in power. So that this red heifer represents something weird. Because the man that slaughters and takes care of the heifer becomes ritualistically unclean. But it's through this uncleanliness that purity comes. So now from the ashes, which represents the spiritual manifestation of life, there's cleanliness. But through the physical death, there's impurity. So many of the ancient rabbis stated midrashically in their interpretation or their exegesis of the statements of the law, they say that it isn't death that is unclean. It is the interaction with the living and the dead that makes the living unclean. So symbolically, physically, death is an impurity in the living world. But in the world of spirituality, it is no impurities. In the world of the divine, there is no impurities. There's a whole different beautiful world in the concept that we can understand. So I've been studying this week on the symbolisms, and I'm looking at it from that perspective. I want you to go to slide. And so now we look at this, and that's one paradox. But the next paradox, I want you to go to the slide 4. So the first paradox is that it's unclean, but it makes clean. It's a contradictory statement, ain't it? But in ancient belief systems, we use paradoxes to explain or to ensure educated thought processes and to have intelligent and intellectual conversations. The next paradox is that it's a sacrifice, but it doesn't follow the orders of sacrifices. If the temple represents the paradise or Eden, then why is it that the container that contains the ashes is never brought inside the temple? So this purification is not even allowed in the temple because the ashes inside a physical container represents the physical death because there was no death inside of Eden. it wasn't nothing inside of paradise, but to sprinkle it towards the sanctification of the temple, it made it holy, because now death could be holy. And we learned about that, right? Death actually gives definition to life. If there wasn't death, then many of us wouldn't value life. We wouldn't care. We would put everything off to tomorrow. Some people know that I'm not here forever. I'm going to do this. But even that thought process is a process alone of death. The Hebrew word mot or mawet, death, in the Greek becomes meta, which means beyond. It's just showing that, guess what? Death is something far beyond our comprehension. It cannot be categorized by the living. And so the living cannot categorize it. We do not understand it. Ask somebody what happens when you die. You get all types of understandings, interpretations. Because it's beyond something. It's beyond our physical senses. What happens to the dead? How do we communicate? What goes on beyond this? It's hard for us to understand, because we as people, we only identify and verify and justify things through empirical data, which happens to be predicated upon our what? Senses. So in this, Yah is basically showing you that there's things beyond our senses. So now that you elevate and understand that once things transition in life, and in the original paradise in Eden, that death is unnatural, then you can understand that there is an ability to be free from this physical body. And I woke up in between two feelings, and then I gathered myself reading, and I was like, man, it's a beautiful world. To understand that there's more than this physical existence. To understand that I cannot fear death, because death is a part of life that we created. Who created death? The Most High. He created it. But who partook in it? We did. It wasn't for us. It wasn't for us. So now we are supposed to be elevated and freed by the Red Bull. It represents renewal. You sprinkle this on you when you unclean and you touch the dead. Anybody that's around a dead corpse, anybody that was in the room where I was present, everything in the room that's an open vessel must be destroyed and become unclean. That's a vessel, but the curtains and tents and stuff like that have to be sprinkled with hyssop in order to renew, because there was an interaction between death and life. God looks at death in a weird way. Though he didn't want it for you, now he's going to utilize it to teach you a lesson. And this is why that ashes never came into the temple. It always stood outside of paradise, because it was a foreign concept for you, oh man. You were not created to die. You were created to be elevated through the renewal of the Red Bull now that the red heifer is there. And that leads me to my next slide, which is 5. You see a Red Bull, right? Now the irony of it is because all they got to do is change one word and you can't identify it. We got a red heifer, a para, which is a bull, a cow. And they change it, they flip it, and they give you Red Bull. It gives you wings. It revitalizes you, it renews you. But we see that God gave us a renewal through spiritual aspects, not through elements that actually cause death. Red Bull is dangerous. It is dangerous. If you ever had an energy drink or a Red Bull, watch how quick you tank. Watch how quick you start grinding your jaw. Watch how quick you start becoming depressed. Because you know what Red Bull was made for? It was made for Vietnam veterans, and it was a hallucinogen created so they can have ease in their time of stress. So now the wicked Jewish community want to be funny, so they give you the red heifer again in a new way, package it, it gives you wings, it's renewal, revitalize you. But when our red heifer was supposed to revitalize us on the understanding of death and eternal life, they package our eternal life inside of something that is death. They playing with us. Imagine if you knew about life. Imagine if you thought that people weren't supposed to die. Would you feel different about life? Yeah. God said, you were supposed to live forever, old man. But the serpent tricked us. Let's go to the next slide. It's a book that I have my sons, some of my sons read it, and my wife glazed through it, and then glanced through it. But it's a book called The Hidden Messages in Water by Masaru Emoto. If you don't have that book, get the book. It will change your life. It would change your life. Now, kids think I'm weird. I went out and bought me a whole bunch of bottles, and I told them to put love and happiness on the bottles. Yeah. You can get it from Amazon. And this Japanese man is brilliant, man. He's very brilliant. But what he did is he wanted to study water. Now, the biggest thing, the most complicated thing on the planet to scientists is water. They don't understand water. But water has an uncanny ability to actually repeat and emulate other things. When you look down in the water, you see what?
Reflection.
Yourself. How the hell that happened? Water is mirroring you. It is creating an image of yourself right before your eyes. It's playing with you, right? You think it's something simple. You overlook it every day. Oh, look at all that. No, they're acting as you. So what Masaru Emoto did is he wanted to study the crystallization and the snowflakes of water. So what he realized is he started to freeze it. He started to take regular water, freeze it, and he wasn't getting nothing. The snowflakes wasn't coming out in no shapes and nothing. He was just pissed off. And one reason, because Japanese water is bad. Why?
Because of the bomb.
Because of the bombing. Japanese water was bad. It's still bad. It's still bad. So he took regular tap water. And what he did is take a drop, he puts it in a little thing, and he sets it off, puts it in the freezer. It comes back, it hasn't crystallized. He's like, where can I get good crystals from? Why tap water isn't good? Chlorine. It kills the crystallization of water. So what he did is he took distilled water. And what does distilled mean? Anybody? I know y'all drink it, but
they take everything out of it.
Means it's steamed and all the negative stuff is removed out of the water. The impurities is removed out of the water. So he took distilled water and he freezed it and he started to see crystallization. He said, okay, I see a difference in the water. Now you can tell the quality of the water through the formations of the crystals. And this is going with my point about the understanding the origin of life. So now he said, well, let me play some Mozart music. He played Mozart music, put it in there, took the water out, crystallized it, and he seen it form beautiful crystals. Then he took heavy metal and grunge music, and he seen that it was distorted just like as if it had chlorine or poison in it. So he's blown away now. He's like, oh man, this is crazy. They ain't gonna believe this. Water actually is intelligent. This got to be some alien substance. This got to be from another planet. This can't be from here. So he takes it and he goes a little further and he says, I'm going to take the container, I'm going to write love and happiness on it. He takes the container, he says love and happiness to the bottle every morning, and the crystallizations were perfect. Then he took one bottle, he put fool on it. Crystallizations were what? Distorted. They were deformed as if they had chemicals in it. So now the people are asking, how can the water read? Because it's the energy that's projected from these water, from the words. Words is powerful. Words are just things that emulate things in society, so they're descriptive. They're describing something. And so in this slide that you read, if you read the slide on the side, he's basically stating that water only responds to stuff that's natural. So things such as fool and death, things such as I hate you, things such as you're nothing are what? Not natural. They're all man-made. They're all created. Okay.
So I mean, just by saying that our body is made up of 70% of water, 80% water. So just hearing certain things from certain people, like as far as negative or positive, yeah, affects you.
It'll affect the crystallization and the water and the cells will become distorted. And then because cells reproduce, they will recreate distorted cells. So he said, well, some people are fools, and yes, they are. But we created this distortion in our reality. So what happens to life as we go on? Because now the beautiful thing about it, the Most High is preemptively giving these people the ability to cleanse themselves during death, because who's about to die? Before her. Before her.
Before
Aaron?
Miriam.
Miriam. And I want to read a statement that I wrote. It says, when the culture loses the meaning behind their rituals, they lose faith. If you're in a society where you're doing rituals all the time and you don't understand the meaning, it's either supposed to bring you closer to understanding the meaning, or it is supposed to bring you closer to the Creator. But if it doesn't, then eventually you don't understand it, you lose faith. Nobody invests in something that they don't understand sometimes. But there is things that are beyond your understanding that sometimes you just have to let be. Because your intellect cannot comprehend all things that the Creator has created. All right, so now the preparation happens, and there becomes a death. Miriam, right? I'm on slide 8. Miriam dies. And all of a sudden, the people complain about what? Water. Do you hear this? Watch now. They start to complain about water. Because Miriam means bitterness. And bitterness, as we know from Masoro Imoto, distorts what? Water. The water. And eventually depletes the water because it doesn't have the ability to replenish itself. So in this, the next slide shows you that in this midrash or breakdown, you have to understand that at birth, you're 99% what? Water. As a fetus, you're 99% of water. At birth, you're 90% water. As an adult, you're 70% water. At death, you're what? 50% water. So of course, bitterness will lead to the lack of water. So now the Bible is giving breakdowns and interpretations from a midrashic level to show you the importance of water. And even in this Torah portion, the people are arguing and complaining about water. So it's funny because God leads spirits, right? Because I've been reading this book all week. This has been my staple this week. It has helped me find peace over and over again. In times of turmoil, times of chaos, whatever it is, it established an area. Me, I'm happy through education. That's my happiness. That is me. When I study, when I buckle down, when I get into the books, I become spiritual again. So I can never be in a bitter state, because in that bitter state, I become the one who begins to destroy myself and deplete myself for the natural necessity of the life-giving substance, which Yah calls Mayim Chaim, which is living water. So now, what happens when Miriam died? The people get angry. They're mad now. They're upset. They blaming Moses. They pissed off. You brought us here to let us die. But isn't it the people's fault that they're in the wilderness dying away? It's funny. One thing you gotta learn about congregations, when people don't want to be in a congregation, they will not do their job anymore. They will back away from their job to seek their own purpose, and then they'll complain about it not being productive. They will complain about it not being productive. I am tired of hearing what the Israelite community doesn't have. If it doesn't have it, it's because you're too lazy to give it, or you don't want to give it because you want to take away the natural life or what you have as a gift. You have to restore and help one another. It isn't that we don't have intelligent people. There's bitter people in the midst of us that rather see us suffer than be progressive. And they're very bitter, but they won't tell you. They'll come up with logical reasons why they can't, why they don't want to come, why they ain't here, why they can't make it on time, why they can't do this. This is a service unto God. There's nothing more greater than what you're doing today.
Yeah.
And if you don't put that before anything, you cannot talk to me. Don't speak to me. The time of games is over with. Our community suffers because there's intelligent people that sit on their hands. Our community suffers because there's people that want the Israelite community to die in order for them to say, I told you so. With too much talent in here, too much of capability of producing something great. Shema Israel started 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Sometimes 10:30. Well, 10:30. People are there. You start at 3 o'clock. You start at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. That means you can go to sleep and wake up at 1. And be an hour away and still get here on time. That's because people are becoming bitter. People are becoming bitter because they haven't seen no progress, correct? What are the people complaining about? They complain about being in the wilderness. The reason why they're still in the wilderness is because they didn't have faith when they spied out the land. It wasn't Moses' fault. Oh, but they got to point the blame. And this is a learning lesson for Moses too. See, Moses was a leader that was close to God, but through this, he's actually learning. He's learning beautiful things as he go on. So you telling me the leader is going to learn as he goes? The man that was so close to God learned new stuff every day. The man that was close to God sinned. The man that spoke to God face to face had flaws. But why do we do this as a people? See, there's respect for certain people because they're drive. I respect drive. I honor drive for the Lord and the Creator because it shows that people want something more. They want something more, and the Almighty allows us to have it. So our ability to reach out and to come closer to each other and build is so beautiful. So in that slide that's in 10, it talks about us basically sabotaging ourselves. So then when they come to Moses and Aaron and they cursing them out, you know the black people, you know how they are. You brought us out here, we ain't doing nothing. Ain't people talking? I've been in Israel 20 years, I ain't seen nothing going off yet. I've been around and now I see nothing. You hear that, right? You hear that? That's the same thing happened in the wilderness. They were the same people that held you back. It's people with an optimistic view for your nation. Yes, it looks like our nation is suffering, but we're not. We're coming. We're coming. It's that optimism that's going to establish you and cause you to be. My nation is not sorry. We're actually very good. We're very strong. You can't tell me we've been beat down in the streets every day and we still here giving glory to God. That we ain't beautiful. That we ain't right. And we gonna get it. No matter how many people leave, how many people come back, how many people do this or that. People need to practice loyalty. They need to practice loyalty to God first and his order and structure. When you call upon the name of God and you say that this is a holy convocation, then you have put God in the midst of this. We can take God out of this and come anytime we want to. But once we put God in it, you better watch yourself. You better be serious about how you move when it comes to calling upon the name of the Creator. So Miriam dies. The people are upset, right? And God says, take that rod. Aaron, take your rod. Put it in the tent, grab all the other tents. I'm going to have to show them stuff. So actually, God is not talking to the people. He's just giving them what? Signs. He's giving them signs. So they put the rods in there, and only rod that blossoms is the Levitical rod. It's Aaron's rod. And we got to understand the symbolism of Aaron's rod. Can somebody read? I can read. It's from Bible Meanings Information. It talks about the almonds. Almonds, almonds signify good of life corresponding with the truth, the good of the interior, natural. It's because the almond is a nobler tree. The tree itself signifies a spiritual sense of perception, interior truth. It says interior truth, not external truth. And isn't that what we're talking about? We're talking about having the ability to perceive an external and an interior truth, because it's easy to just go with what you see on the outside. There's something going on in this world that's different than what you think. When you believe in God, you don't see things the same. When you believe in God, you don't think that an evil person is going to beat you up. It's just not going to happen. When you believe in God, your mindset is different. When Elijah was with the servant, he said, God, move back the curtains of heavens for this man to see. And he showed them all the wonderful works. Because in this reality, there's deception. Because we base everything off of our senses, off our ability to perceive, off our ability to touch. And all our senses are based and predicated on touch. But the Almighty allows us to show that there's an eternal truth that's coming out of there. And because Moses and Aharon believed, they knew that there was greater things besides this, besides what you see. There's going to be conditions that make you hate it. About this place, well, you can make it a place. You can make it divine. You can make it yours. The Almighty took tent curtains and made a worship place. When people had pyramids, people had temples on top of mountains. But he took the lowest. He took the smallest. When God, during the time of Gideon, during the time of Zerubbabel, during the time of all these mighty warriors, they said, let's go to war. God said, no, don't give me the men. That's too many. Give me the men that lapped up the water like a dog. Yeah. He said, give me the sorriest people. People that aren't noble. Give me that. I'm going to deliver myself and make my name known through them. This Sabbath is not about counting the people. It's about the people that's in here, the quality of the people that's in here. Each one of you are like 10 people, if you believe. Each one of you have the strength and the spirituality to understand that God has something that's a divine plan. I watch Facebook. I see people debating still. They got debates going on. But not one person hit me up when we talking about land. There's people hitting us up, but I'm talking about the people I thought, because they don't want that. They just want to debate. See, when you go out there, you ain't going to have time to debate. You're going to mess up. You're going to build. You're going to mess up. I'll let you know. You're going to plant crops that don't even grow. And trust me, we did it before. We had cabbages that never grew an inch. They stayed the same. I was like, oh, this is a slow-growing fruit. Yeah, that's slow-growing greens. It's going to take its time. You know, there you go. Tomatoes used to grow all over the place. All we have is tomatoes. Huh? Peas? Yeah, peas. The kids used to eat the peas straight up. Yeah, peas and tomatoes. He had a big backyard full of stuff. That stuff didn't grow. But it's trial and error. And guess what? A lot of your trial and error come off the back of people that already have done it. So that's why you bring elders in that have done this stuff. The Almighty will definitely bless us. So now, we go into a place and it's all dealing with death. We're dealing with the red heifer. We still on death and we still on water. So now the people still thirsty. They're complaining. God shows them a sign that Moses and Aaron are divine. And they complain about what they don't have. And he says to Moses, speaking to the rock. Now, slide 12 is called the physiology of the senses. And it's a book that actually touches on various religious beliefs and understandings, but it touches on Moses smoting the rock. And it talks about Moses' inability sometimes to lack faith because of the influence of the people. See, sometimes you may be discouraged because the people discourage you. As a leader, if you're given something by God to do, then do it. It don't matter what the people think. As long as it's productive, it's forward in the forward motion the way you need to go, then the Almighty will bless it. He said to Moses, speaking to the rock. Moses not believing. Speaking to the rock and water gonna come out. Oh, man, that can't work. It gotta be something to the rock. He mad at the people, he pissed off, he got his staff there. He's like, man, boom! Should we give you rebels drink? Water's gushing out, people going crazy, they all happy. There go Moses. Because sometimes God does not allow you to fulfill your promises because of lack of faith. Now, why I said all senses are predicated on touch. If there's a ship or a boat all the way over there, it's the visual rays that come and touch my optic nerve that allows me to perceive it. If I'm smelling something, it's because there's waves of vibrations or odors that came and touched my nerves in order for it to register. When I say an orange, you don't just think of color. You think of a fruit. You think of how the fruit tastes, how the fruit smells, how sticky your hand is. All your senses justify the orange and validates the orange. See, the problem is with people, and I hear this a lot, empirical data. Empirical data is only data that can be proven in the physical sense. And even empirical data in some aspects isn't empirical data. It is data predicated on the empire that you're under to establish that that is correct. So we have to think at a mindset that there is aspects. If you believe that God, you understand everything about God, then where does your growth and your journey go? See, your whole life is understanding God. It is a journey of becoming greater and a greater individual and being righteous. But learning God. So Moses couldn't see that a water can answer to speech. But as we seen earlier with the Masaru Emoto's test, is that water does answer to speech. And in fact, if you speak things, water starts to form and create what you speak. So the natural aspect of life comes from speech, and you get that from where? Genesis. So now the power of speech is spoken in a lesson to learn to Moses that sometimes, even when it doesn't look good or possible, it is possible, because the belief in man is only justified when we can have our senses indicate that it's true. And that means that we only believe in things that are tangible or that can be touched, but that's not with God. How many times your bills were out of control? There ain't no way in the world you was gonna pay the bills. You end up getting paid. End up moving, doing something, but you're getting better to be put in a different position. Yah has all of these things. Sometimes you think your way is the better way. See, people that no longer believe in God because they became too intelligent in their own belief in self that they no longer believe in God. Why would God allow this to happen and this to happen? God didn't create that. He created it, you partook in it. He told you don't do it. God said, don't stick your finger in the sockets, and everybody stick a finger in the sockets, and you touch the person that stick the finger in the sockets, and everybody get electrocuted. Oh God, why did you do this for us? What kind of God are you? But they gave you the rules not to do it. My life is too close to God for me to ever deny God. I learn every single day from good actions and bad actions that Yah shows me. And it's so beautiful when you can learn the lesson. Now, we have the death of one of our patriarchs and the passing of the torch with our father Aaron. And Aaron was a wonderful individual. Did Aaron have mistakes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Aaron didn't go to calf. We ain't gonna forget that.
That's right. One.
Man, people so mad it's not wrong. Why he make a golden calf? He's still in this book. I don't get it. But yet, every one of us bases our belief off of something that's physical. So we may not sculpt a golden calf, but we have a golden calf. Some of our golden calf is money. Some of it's women, drugs, money, power. Yeah, I know you're gonna say that. I was gonna say it, but I ain't going. Our people have to stop in the direction that they're going. We have to be able to understand each person, each generation. What happened with Moses and sometimes in Aaron is that they became detached from the generation that came after them. I put a post on Facebook this week, and it was basically a social experiment. I wanted to see how many people were going to say the ignorant stuff that they were going to say.
You know they was going to touch that.
Yeah.
You know that.
People complaining about Migos and they complaining about all of these people. But in truth, where did they get that from? Us. Our generation gave them that stuff. So for you to not accept what you passed down into another generation is failure in yourself to be able to take care of that generation. I put pictures of Houdini, Kool Moe Dee, Kool Herc, all these people. Some of them had leather jackets on with leather drawers. I'm not even talking no pants on. But we don't wonder where they got it from. So then I say, well, Biggie had gay verses. And I write all the gay verses Biggie had, and I seen actual grown men justifying this thing. Oh, he didn't mean it like that. What you mean he didn't mean it like that? Oh, see, you gotta understand it's bar play, it's word play, son. So why Young Thug ain't got no word play? Why Migos ain't got no word play? Some of the stuff that Biggie said, you won't even hear from this generation. So we were caught up in our group. Pac got his stuff too. What hero you know hang out at gay clubs? But we justify and vindicate these things like it's okay and wonder where these kids come from. Yeah. Let's be real with what we said. How many times did DMX say some ill stuff to somebody? Every verse, I couldn't even hear a song. He was talking about somebody performing oral sex on them. Oh, Biggie got that verse from Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor admitted to having gay relationships. So we have to realize that our words, our speech, and our ability can affect somebody. You know, a lot of children were on the borderlines when they were growing up. You know that? As far as sexuality, males. But then they were called faggots so much that they said, you know what? I'm a faggot. I might be that. Because words have so much power. And it affects us all. But the point of the red heifer is to realize that every time you slaughter this heifer, that there is an impurity aspect in the physical world, but in the spiritual world, there is all life. That there is a different existence, that everything is supposed to be renewed through it, that there's a lesson to be learned. And when Miriam died, they weren't supposed to be upset with Moses. They should have sympathized with Moses. That was Moses' sister. Don't you hate when Negroes try to take your battle stronger than you? Oh, we mad, you killed her. That's my sister. It was part of life. Then Aaron died, and Aaron in itself was a lesson. And I share this, and I always share this. Don't get upset with what you push in your ideas and concepts if it don't come in fruition during your lifetime. It's part of how the generational growth happens. Sometimes you may not see it, but the next generation will. Maury Elazar had a vision about everybody living on land and becoming people that's growing on land, and he died. He passed away. Not one person lived on the land when he passed away. But almost 10 years, a decade after his death, there's people that actually will be living on the land. So it doesn't mean what you're doing isn't working. It just means it might not happen in your time. Moses brought the people to the promised land, but couldn't go into the promised land. Sometimes your job is not to journey with them or enter with them, but it's to lead them into the right direction to get there. So don't be selfish enough or angry enough because the progression is not happening. I say this all the time. Moses wasn't respected as a great man until he died. Rambam was actually hated by all his contemporaries. But now he's the voice of Judaism. Allow your works to build itself up. Sometimes they're ahead of its time, and then people will be able to grow from it. And I want you to understand that negativity is not a natural thing. If you're talking about immortality, you see beyond the things that are physical. Always, where is this going to lead you spiritually? Become spiritually inclined enough that you can understand that I want this for growth in my life. I want this to become a better individual. Yah is so powerful that Yah is not tangible. It's one of the only gods that's not tangible. He is the only God. And I will put my faith in something that I can't understand because in truth, it shows me how much greater he is than I am. He says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. So just because intellectually we can't prove it, it doesn't mean that he doesn't exist. It means he's greater, and our journey towards growth will constantly happen. So remember, when you're sad and you're depressed, that is not natural. It is something that somebody created that you're following. Or you chase something that wasn't good for you. So sometimes when things don't work out or things don't happen the way, let it go. Don't try to force something that's unnatural to be naturally cohesive with you. That's not going to work. Do not bend your morals. Do not bend your zeal for the Creator in order to make something become a part of you. But believe in Yah so much that you completely put yourself in his arms, that you completely fall back and rely on him. And I know that's hard in these days and time. But I'm an individual that I tell you, if I would allow the physical world to control my life, I would be somewhere slumped over. But my zeal for God is so great that I just walk and I can smile sometimes. I can just sit by myself and enjoy life. I can go outside and understand that the sun rays has its purpose and it's divine in itself. I can see past the temporary discomfort that I may go through in life in order to see that in the future things will be greater. You have to have that relationship with God. And don't put too much into people. Put your all into God. And in the structure of Yah, establish it. So I thank everybody here, and I thank them for even coming and receiving the word, but Yah above all things. And if you get a chance, look up the hidden messages of water, in water. It'll change your life. You know, they got experiments where they put Adolf Hitler onto the bottle and the water became distorted because the person who thinks about Adolf Hitler has a cringe to him. So now there's certain people in life that cause you think about negative stuff. So when you're thinking and you're reflecting on negative stuff, realize that you are killing your body. And if anybody get a time alone today, I want to show you something that's going to absolutely work as soon as you do it. If you pay attention to it. Take a minute and start talking to the cells in your body. Talk to them. Let them know we're working to be healthy. We're working to be good. We're trying to come back. We're trying to feel how y'all feeling today. Just start talking to them and watch them start responding. Watch your body start tingling. It's going to work, I guarantee you. And if it ain't work, maybe you got too much noise around you. Go for a walk. Start talking to your body and watch how responsive the water in your body is. Bitterness leads to death. It leads to the dehydration of the spiritual aspect and nature of who we are. God gave us Mayim Kayim for us to be able to live. He created everything out of existence that was nothing but covered in water, and through speech he created the physical matter, similar to the fetus inside of a human's body. Our God has designed this world for us to gain intelligence to master it. All praises, all honor, all glory to the supreme intellect of the universe. Y'all are forefathers, y'all Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Thank the Heavenly Father. Donations, and not donations, obligations for nations, but everybody that is watching, I ask that on August 4th and 5th that you make it to Atlanta, Georgia. We have a few guest speakers. I spoke with Aniam, and he's going to come through and speak. I spoke with Prince Kez, Rob Zoridan to speak, Divine Prospect. All of these brothers, we're going to come together on August 4th, and we're going to put on a show of celebration, a show of good words, camaraderie like you've never seen before. We're going to celebrate life. We're going to celebrate the existence. We're going to celebrate the unions. Thank God for all things and everything. And I thank the Creator for all the families. And I hope y'all remain happy and peaceful and tranquility and understanding that y'all are serene. Don't let things tear your life up. Just always smile and grow from it and move forward. Just love y'all in all things, you know. And if you have a person that tries to tear you down and tear down your life, they were never a person that cared for you in the first place. But the people that do care for you, they work with you through your flaws and your transgressions and help build up a better individual. And I never allow rebuke to be taken like it's evil. Rebuke is actually positive. If you don't have somebody that's correcting you, then they don't love you. So let's love each other. Let's move on. Let's go forward. Let's do this thing. Let's start thinking about how we're going to move our families onto this land. What are some of the avenues? We're looking at freight homes to container homes. We're looking at modulars. We're looking at different mini forms, manufactured homes. Whatever is possible, we're going to make this happen. If you need credit clean, this all let's work together and start putting out information and understand how we're going to move forward in the future, because I'm telling you, it's there and we're moving soon. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All praise, all honor, all glory to the supreme intellect of the universe. We're going to get ready to close out. Let's all rise and face the east. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Blessed be the merciful King, supreme intellect of the universe, Yahweh, forefathers, Yahweh, Yaakov. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for blessing us, allowing us to make it today to the Sabbath day. For you are great divine King, you are righteous King, you are almighty. You have put it in our hearts and our minds and our spirits and our souls to become better people, Almighty Yah. I want to thank you for the families that are here and ask you for the special blessing. And be with our Moreh and our minister that aren't here, oh Heavenly Father, and be with our general that isn't here, oh great King. Bless us and give us a truth. And allow us to revisit the glory days of your scriptures, O great King, when we will commune with you, O Heavenly Father. Please put in our hearts and our minds and our souls to do great things, but there was no power like unto thee. And I want to thank you just for my life alone, O Heavenly Father, and the life of my children, and the ability to be able to speak and spend time with them on grow, O great King. And though my schedule is so hectic, O great King, you still give me the opportunity to spend some time with and instill some things that I want to instill in them, O Heavenly Father. And thank you for the people that help out and help upbringing my family, oh great King, and those are the people that in the community that support them and try to build them up, oh Heavenly Father. For you are great in all things that you do. We sanctify your high and holy name now and forevermore. Hallelujah.
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 Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Be